Okay, it's not an incursion temple, but it'll do. This episode is going to be about incursion and more importantly, incursion gear. A lot of people keep asking me, like, Zizaran, how do you get your chest? And especially also my amulet. Incursion has a lot of really valuable stuff, and it's sort of its own influence type, but it's actually stronger than that because it isn't actually an influence type. This is like, that has some upsides and downsides. So just as a quick intro, Incursion is basically Alva, it's this temple, and whenever something is like level 3, like for example the lightning workshop, that will drop some items with like special mods on them. Now coincidentally, it doesn't always actually drop lightning items, sometimes it'll drop fire items such as these. So this was actually an Incursion amulet. It started out with just the fire, cold, and chaos res. And if we hold alt on the item here, we can see that the fire res and the fire damage leech his life is actually the same stat. And this is the really, really powerful thing with Incursion, that we actually do have these like joined mods. And they're very, very special and very unique and can be extremely strong. Let's talk about the amulet first. So this is really good for a large amount of builds because it can be very, very hard to get spell damage leech or, you know, specifically elemental damage leech. So for example, I'm using a soul tether on this character. I want overleech, but more importantly, like, how do I actually get life leech on this character? There's not really that many good ways to get it. I do deal fire damage though, so being able to get an amulet like this solves all of my issues. Like, this actually dropped as a gold amulet or something, or a coral amulet, but that doesn't actually matter. And as a further example, like, this is the current amulet I'm working on as an upgrade. I get asked a lot like how I crafted on this talisman, because talismans are corrupted and I have an anoint on them as well. That's perfect. Well, it actually turned out it started as an amulet such as this, and we turn it into a talisman later. So we have multiple things that we can do. For example, we can fracture the item. So here's an example of a fractured item where I hit the 30% increased movement speed. If I use a deafening essence of greed here, that'll guarantee the highest tier of life, and also the 30% movement speed will stay. Then I just had to get resist, which is fairly easy on an item like this, right? So the desired outcome here would be to fracture through harvest and hitting the fire resistant fire damage leech's life. Then that would stay and I could roll the rest of the amulet very easily. However, if I fracture it, I can't turn it into a talisman and I can't influence it. I could also influence it, and then I could hope like, well, it turned hunter. Now I can get +1 int gems, right? That would be good for a lot of builds. But now I can't turn it into a talisman, and we still have a coral amulet. So as you can see here, there's a lot of choice. It depends on what you need for your build. However, for tier 2 talismans for my build is really, really strong. So what I do, I have here the really, really good suffixes. The chaos rest started out as like 7% chaos rest, but I did chaos to chaos until I got a good one. So you can see harvest comes in a lot here and is really, really strong. And now what I'm doing is I'm doing the mod that is like, keep all suffixes, reroll prefixes, until maybe I'll just give up and augment life and hope that I get 60 or 70 life. But ideally, I'm hoping that it's going to roll high percentage energy shield and high life. That's ideally what I want. And this is a good use of my reroll prefixes. Once I have my prefixes done, on this amulet, it's actually so good that I'm going to use 20 fertile catalysts. And then hopefully it'll be like something like 90, 95 life on it. It's obviously, I want to divine it perfectly first as well. And I want to anoint it. Now, I'm in a very, very lucky scenario on Soul Self-Fund where I can actually afford expensive anoints, because I had like 12 or 13 gold oils. So I've been doing these on a few amulets. I missed on this one. It hit Pierce. But there's actually 4 really, really good outcomes for my build here. The talisman, which is, and the way we make it into a talisman is I grab Jorgen, this guy, and I put him on research. If you have a level 1 Jorgen, it makes him a tier 1 talisman, level 2, 2, and 3, 3. Tier 2 talismans are really good. I can get max life, I can get percentage life regen, I can get crit chance or crit multi. That's the 4 really good ones. I already have an okay one, but I really, really want to get like a super juicy one, because I want to hit 9k life on this character. So that's a little bit about amulets. There's a lot of cool things you can do with that, obviously. But we also have chests. Chests are very, very strong. So if you look at this one, we have here maximum life and percentage maximum life. And that means I can also craft percentage life on top of that, and up to 10% max life as extra energy shield. Now, how do I have 2 crafts, but I don't have multi-mod? And I have another chest here too. I've actually already done it on this too, but basically I had, it was, you know, naked prefixes. It only had the wacalac. Then I have multi-modded the max life and max life. Once I've done that, we do the same thing that we did to the harvest amulet, just differently. But here we do the keep all prefixes, reroll all suffixes. Now, I can't fuck around with like crafts anymore. I can't do anything else. I would actually have to remove the crafted mods. But I've also influenced this as Redeemer. So what I'm hoping for here is I want to mess around with like rerolling the suffixes until I hit Frenzy Charge on hit. That's just so I can get Frenzy Charges for bosses and gives me an additional 12% damage. This is really strong because now I have like these really good perfect 3 prefixes and I can keep rolling the suffixes with harvest. So this is really strong and a really good use of it as well. It basically means that if you're ever multi-modding 2 prefixes, you can always just change the suffixes, which is really nice. Now on this chest here, the one I'm wearing has Shaper influence, which is not what I wanted. There's no influence I really care about here, whereas this is Redeemer, which I do want. And that's like one of the really strong things with the incursion gear, is that they don't actually count as an influence base. That means it can be fractured, you can synthesize it, and you can also influence it and hope to get what you want. There are several things you can do this on. My gloves are also incursion. These were nicer until I fucked them up. They had dexterity instead of the life regen, and then I did a boo-boo. Basically did remove non-life to life, and I forgot that there was a life regen suffix on gloves. I hate it. But here we are. Other than that, we can see that the cold resist and damage against chilled enemies are inside the same roll. So these are really good. I'm chilling enemies with skitterbots. So very good. And here I could like further this by doing remove defenses and remove attack. And then I could have open prefixes that I could do stuff with. Now, these also could be influenced. There are conversion gloves as well. And if you influence them with Crusader, people are making 50% conversion gloves. So that's really strong. And it just generally has a lot of really good gear. Early on especially, you can get life and energy shield rings, but they'll also have like percentage life or percentage energy shield. A lot of the weapons are insanely strong. It'll have like, I think it's called Topo Tante or something. But like, keep an eye out for the incursion gear. It is really good because not only are you getting a really high roll, like for example, the incursion weapon, that would be like 70% increased fire damage, but it would also have like flat fire damage to spells inside the same roll. So they're really good and definitely worth keeping. So for farming incursion gear, there are 2 ways to farm them. We have Glenark Cairns and Nexioris. Glenark Cairns is really good in general because it like lets you upgrade your temple very easily. Makes it very easy to get corruption temples, and generally you'd have like very often that your entire temple is like level 3 on everything. So Glenark Cairns is really good because when you are upgrading, for example, the lightning, fire, life, whatever room, then you are getting these like special base types drop, and the boss drops a few of them as well. There is another way which I really like, which is time dilation here. This is on Nexioris, and every time you kill an architect, you drop 1 additional rare incursion item. I did this a lot early league to try to get chest types, and then now what I'm doing is basically every time I have a chest type that's fixable, like this one only needs to remove defense. However, I had Hunter on it, which I don't need for this build. However, if I was a Necro, this would be perfect because I could get increased offering effect. So, you know, just wanted to make a quick video talking about all the incursion base types and everything like that. Hope it helps, and I hope you guys are enjoying Ritual. I know I am. Some of you like the videos, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.